All right, so part 3 of the City of Galveston response to my public information request. So next we move on to the crime scene report. Mind you guys, they tried to say my car was the crime scene. So this is where we at now. So it says yes. And now that I've actually seen what DPS sent you, this is exactly why reinterpretation of DNA is one of the biggest litigation issues in forensic science today. Let me show you what just jumped out immediately from the Galveston Police Department crime scene report you received. It says, look at what was actually sent for DNA testing. According to the crime scene report, evidence submitted to DPS for DNA analysis on 12/4/2013 was swab from key lanyard, swab from keys, swab from passenger interior door, swab from center console armrest, swab from driver's door exterior, swab from steering wheel, swab from shift knob, black sock, swab from rear view mirror. All of this is from the vehicle's interior, not the victim's body, not fingernails, not underwear, not an SA kit biological sample. This is touch DNA from a car. 2, that changes the entire meaning of DNA was found. Touch DNA from steering wheel, keys, door handle, armrest does not mean someone committed a SA. And it says not in bold. It only means someone touched something at some point in time. Touch DNA can transfer directly, indirectly, secondary transfer, even days later. This is why courts across the U.S. are now fighting over interpretation versus testing. The major litigation issue, this is the big one. Here's the problem that have overturned convictions nationwide. Labs often run the original DNA test, STR test, get a weak/mixed/inconclusive result, later reanalyze the same raw data, use new thresholds, new interpretation software, new statistical modeling, or analyst judgment, and then suddenly now the defendant cannot be excluded, or now the DNA is consistent with the defendant. Says no new test was ran, no new evidence was collected, the electrophoregram stayed the same. Only the interpretation changed. So when the prosecutor asks for more time, this timeline now becomes critically important to you. So you told me, my bad, y'all. You told me your DNA, your attorney said the DNA was not on a girl. So I did. Again, man, that's another one to look at and kind of just, I don't know, man. Just all this is foreign to me. So I'm learning like on the fly, man. So next we have property released to ADA Freeman. Says Jonathan, this right here is huge. I'm glad you uploaded property released to ADA because this answers a question we've been chasing for weeks. Page 1, evidence was released to a prosecutor. On page 1, the property release from it clearly shows property released to ADA Freeman. Says released to Freeman, assisted district attorney, and look at what was released. Swabs from vehicles, swabs from lanyards, swabs from keys, socks from driver's side door, buccal swab, SA collection kit, clothing bag, animal print bra, gray shorts. This is from the victim. Sheer, black top, changing sheets, camisoles, changing paper. That means the same kit and biological clothing evidence left police custody and was physically transferred to the prosecutor's office. Why is the prosecutor handling biological material? I don't know. So it says, why this matters. More than you realize, normally evidence goes hospital, police, crime lab, DPS. Says, but here you now have documentation showing police to prosecutor. Dog, I can't make this stuff up. This is the stuff that's, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what to think. I'm just on the fly trying to figure this stuff out. You know what I mean? But that shit sounds fishy to me. It says this creates 3 litigation questions any post-conviction lawyer would immediately ask. Why was biological evidence released to the DA? Was it resubmitted to DPS after that release? If so, when and by whom? Because once biological evidence leaves the evidence locker, it is released to a party in the case and later returns for testing. You now have chain of custody. Breaking point. It says confirms the SA kit was included. Hold on. Confirms the SA kit was included. Says item seven shows, okay, SA collection listed alongside buccal swab, suspect, vehicle swabs, clothing from victim, and this entire group of items is a part of the same property released to ADA Freeman. This connects to your timeline. Now remember what you said happened. Your attorney told you DNA was not found on the victim. Prosecutor asked the judge for more time. Weeks later, suddenly DNA is now under the victim's fingernails. Now we have documents showing SA kit's biological evidence was released to the prosecutor prior to trial. So the next legal question becomes, was the original DNA test negative or inconclusive? And after this release, was the same data reinterpreted or the kit resubmitted for additional analysis? Oh, fuck, I'll be butchering that. It says this is exactly where reinterpretation happens. In many wrongful conviction cases, initial STR test weak inclusive, prosecutor delayed trial, evidence is reviewed again, lab reinterprets, same electrophorograms, same raw data, different threshold, different mixture assumptions, no new test, just a new opinion. Says what you need next, critical. Now you must submit. Hold on. Now you must request from DPS submission, history logs, evidence, receipt, dates, analysts, assigned log, chain of custody with DPS, any supplemental or amended reports specifically asks was item SA kit form, SA kit or any fingernail scrapings resubmitted for additional analysis after initial testing. This is how you find out, did they test it again or did they reinterpret? So you're getting closer to the exact point where the story changed. Oh man, I don't know, y'all. We got to keep going. We just got to keep going. We got to keep digging. So next we have the DPS supplemental DNA laboratory report. It says, Jonathan, this is the document that answers your question once and for all. And I'm going to be very direct with you here because this is where the science and the legal issues collide. Mind you, I sent 2 letters off to DPS already, so we getting some news back soon. And it says they tell you what they did. This is a supplemental DNA laboratory report issued October 19, 2015. Says, now read what DPS says in plain language. This supplemental DNA report is being issued to communicate results of data reinterpreted on previous reported DNA data using new guidelines implemented August 10th, 2015. Says, let's slow that down. Previously reported DNA data reinterpreted using new guidelines. That means no new DNA extractions, no new STR tests, no new biological sample, no new lab work. They took the same data from the original test and changed the interpretation in 2015. This is the fingernail evidence. It says DNA extracted, DNA extract from the right hand fingernail swab, DNA extract from the left hand fingernail swab. Then it says, and then the previous obtained DNA profile. Again, that wording matters. They are telling you this DNA profile already existed before 2015. This is the major litigation issue you asked. So they didn't do a new DNA test. They just reinterpreted. That's what I had asked ChatGPT. It says, according to this report, correct. They already had the fingernail DNA data. I already analyzed it once. I already reported it May 14, 2015. And then it says, then August 10th, 2015, DPS changed interpretation guidelines. October 19, 2015, same data is reinterpreted. No new testing, just new thresholds, statistical calculation changes. Recalculation of statistics has been performed on previously reported data. Says why this happens. DNA interpretation involves signal thresholds, mixture assumptions, peak height ratios, stochastic thresholds, change those, and inconclusive become cannot exclude, or consistent with without even touching the DNA again, same electrophorograms, different opinion. That's big. So they can just reinterpret anything whenever they're ready to do it. That's what it seems like, and then come out with another outcome, with the opposite outcome, basically. That's what it sounds like to me. It says, now, match this to your court memory. You said lawyer told you DNA wasn't found on the victim. Prosecutor asked the judge for more time. Weeks later, DNA under fingernails. This report shows the fingernail DNA already existed, was already tested, and later reinterpreted under the new 2015 rule. Last important line. Remaining evidence was returned on June 24th, 2015. So evidence was retested, returned to agency. Then later, after August 10th, 2015, guidelines changed. Data was reinterpreted. Bottom line, scientifically, no new DNA test was ran in October 2015. The same DNA was reanalyzed using new interpretation guidelines. Legally, this exact situation, reinterpretation of previously inconclusive mixture DNA is one of the most litigated forensic issues in post-conviction cases today. Next move now is not more testing. It's getting the May 14, 2015 original report referenced on page 1, because that's the report before reinterpretation. That's where the story may have been different. Man, so I've already put that in. We're going to eventually go over what I sent DPS, but let me get there, because I still have to go over what the DA sent, because they sent these messages back to back on the same day yesterday. You know what I mean? So I got to go over those. But y'all stay in the pocket, man. It's a lot to unfold. I ain't gonna lie, it got me kind of confused. I'm still like, well, dang, when was the DNA? I mean, when was the fingernail? What happened? Where all this came in at? You know what I mean? Like, why did the DA touch it before it was sent to DPS? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It just seemed like a bunch of messed up stuff, bunch of fuckery. You know what I mean? And like I say, I'm open-minded because I want to figure this stuff out, and I'm not going in there with a one-track mind. You know, I'm optimistic about it. You know what I mean? Just keeping it out there. You know, but make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. I know I say that a lot. Share the videos. We got to keep going, dog. Stuff just keep popping back up. So I don't have time to get into the story just yet, but we will. But it's just, we got to get to the bottom of this DNA submission and the fingernail submission. That's what we got to figure out. We got a lot going on. Stay in the pocket. Catch you on next video.